Okay, welcome to the Mostly Nonsense podcast. What is this, our fourth episode?
I don't know.
We've only posted one of them.
Your lips sound so fucking
It sounds
gross,
crazy.
dude.
It sounds terrible. Listen, this is a sign of quality equipment, man.
Hey, hold on.
Oh my God, stop. Don't do that. That's so gross. That's the worst.
Okay,
Let's
so
see if some way to... Maybe it's just too close to our face if we put it like out here. Oh my God. Yeah, but you're making the noise on purpose. You're like...
whatever, it's an ASMR podcast now. Stop doing that. That's so...
Yeah, now you don't like it.
No, I don't like it. Okay, so you said you wanted to talk about Joe Rogan.
No, I don't really want to talk about him. He said he doesn't want to come to Canada because we are even less democratic than Russia.
But who the fuck invited him?
No, because they're doing a UFC here.
Oh, okay, but like,
It just pisses me off so much.
do
man.
we need Joe Rogan to
We
do
don't.
UFC?
We don't.
Is he fighting?
No.
I know. So I think we'll be
Screw
okay.
that guy.
I think we'll be okay.
It just makes me mad, man.
It makes you mad, but honestly, talk about your thing.
Well, it
Let
makes me
look at
mad
the-
because you see so many different people over there. You're seeing such a shift from rational thinking and logical decision making and the ability to weigh what is true and what's not. You're seeing people like that become so whelmed by propaganda and all this sort of stuff that all of a sudden all those skills that they had are just out the window. Like that guy, as soon as he moved to Texas, all of a sudden all of his podcasts and stuff just became essentially political propaganda.
I think the situation is that I'm an idiot, right?
Yep, same.
Full disclosure. I think Joe Rogan is a very successful, also idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Rogan doesn't have a PhD. He's not an academic.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes.
Okay, so that's the argument I used to make because I used to argue for him as well.
Yeah.
But the problem is that once you reach a certain size, you have a responsibility to the people that have allowed you to reach that level of success, right? And
Is that a reasonable standard?
I think it is
Okay.
because
Well, who enforces it then?
nobody enforces it because it could be considered an infringement on their freedom or whatever, right? What are you going to do? Say that he's not allowed to talk into a microphone and post it?
I wouldn't really feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But that's the problem. So there should be an expectation on a person to hold themselves to a certain ethical standard when it comes to certain things like that. And the more power and the more wealth you have, the standard should be higher. The more important you are towards swaying people's thoughts, I think the standard should become stricter, right? But it seems like we're just getting the standard lowered for this friggin' idiot. I feel like he held himself to a higher standard when he was smaller
Because he
now.
used to question a lot.
Yeah.
Now he has strong opinions. But you know
Yeah.
what? Counter argument, Ryan.
Let's hear it.
I think, he's right. Listen, global freedom, 12 out of 100, not for, this is the Freedom House, okay?
Okay.
12 out of 100, not free.
For what? For what?
Well,
What does that represent?
It's Canada or Russia.
Oh, that's Russia?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Russia. It's not free.
Yeah.
Hold on, where's Canada? Canada is 97 out of 100. That's pretty good.
And I bet let's see what the US is.
Oh, good idea. But from a certain perspective, Ryan, 97 out of 100 isn't 100 out of 100.
Yeah,
So
sure.
How
The
free is it
the
really?
main issue comes with the fact that they've got a different culture around there around personal freedoms. They hold personal freedoms to be much more important in the States than we do here. And so for him, when he sees us Canadians and our government make decisions that slightly infringe upon individual personal freedoms in favor of group and society benefits and society freedoms, he takes it as this is not a free country, right?
True.
Like with the freedom of speech thing. We have different freedom of speech laws compared to what they have over there. And their laws were made more upon the idea of individual freedoms as opposed to ours. Right? And it's this division, this break in between what he thinks American society is and how that is the perfect society, or not perfect society, but you know what I mean. And then thinking Canadian society is supposed to reflect that as well, and yet not seeing it, and therefore it is
Okay, Ryan.
broken. What's the American one?
Hold on, wait. Pop quiz. Out of Russia, Canada, and the United States of America, which one do you think would have the most internet freedom?
Internet freedoms?
Yeah. So
Um,
rank them from highest to lowest. Pop quiz, Ryan.
It
This
depends on
will
what you
affect
consider.
your-
Okay, but hold on. It depends on what you consider an internet freedom.
Whatever. Fuck, man. Whatever freedom house. I
Okay,
consider internet
so we'll
freedom.
see. We'll say if you consider a freedom just the freedom to do whatever you want to do on the internet, I'll say U.S., Canada, and then Russia.
Okay. So you're well.
Because it
I-
depends on what you consider a freedom, right?
Okay. Well, how else? I don't really understand. How else could you consider a freedom?
Because, for example, freedom of speech doesn't mean that you have a freedom to say hate speeches. That doesn't mean you have a freedom from the responsibility of your speech, right?
I don't
So-
get it.
So, for example, you can't verbally say that you're going to hurt somebody.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a violation of freedom of speech that because you now can't say something,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
right? So then on the internet, at what point does it break that boundary of freedom of speech on the internet being infringing on other people's freedoms and other freedoms in general? Where's the line drawn, right?
I don't know,
and
but
therefore, like, at what point it's almost like weighing two scales to see the most benefit you can get from both areas.
that's not what
Right.
that's a fair point. I don't know where the line is, but
I don't either.
I like to give a lot of freedom to speech.
Yeah.
But so I don't know where the line is. But for me personally, even though I don't know where it is, it'd probably be closer to being able to say a large variety of things.
I would agree with that.
But you know, that's actually like a tangent, because how do you define freedom on the internet? Is it freedom to access information, or is it like just freedom to say whatever you want?
That freedom to access information, that's a great point you bring up. Because that's such an important aspect of it as well. And I don't know, like, I don't know how you would rank that. Well, I guess for Russia it'd be pretty easy to rank it.
So
But between Canada and the U.S., I just don't know our laws around that sort of thing in order to be able to make a call like that.
So without knowing what any of these numbers actually mean, internet freedom in Russia is, do you want to take a guess out of 100?
It's like 3.
No, it's not that bad. Take a second guess.
Well, you said the regular freedoms was like 12 or something, or 17.
Their global freedom is 12 out of 100.
So I'll say they got 15 or 8.
They got 20.
20.
They
Is it
got-
actually that high?
Yeah, well, 20 out of 100 isn't exactly high.
Well, I was thinking it'd be lower than the other freedoms. Like, I was thinking the 12 would be pulled down by the internet freedoms and brought up by, like, freedoms outside of the internet. But I don't know. I've
I
never
don't
been
even
a
know
part
what
of.
these metrics mean.
I've never been
actually.
a part of a dictatorship, so I don't really know.
No, you haven't been part of a dictatorship yet.
Yet.
There's
Yeah.
a long future awaits us.
Yep.
Canada, global freedom, 97 out of 100.
Nice.
And internet freedom, this might surprise you when I go back to the USA, is 86 out of 100. Again,
Okay.
having no idea what these numbers actually mean.
Yep.
So then if we go to America, global freedom, do you think it would be higher or lower?
Then Canada,
Yeah.
lower.
Why?
Because I don't like the states and I want us to be better.
I don't. Okay,
Listen, I have no
base take,
problem with
base
the
take.
people. I have a problem with the what's going
Base-
on right now.
I thought their freedom would be higher, but somehow on Freedom House, which is like an independent.
Wait, hold on. Let's discuss this a little bit more.
Okay.
Why did you think it would be higher?
I don't, because it's America. Have you ever seen a bald eagle?
Okay, but have you ever seen slavery?
Okay, but there's no.
Don't you
s-
think some of the culture and the laws would have been,
You
even
know-
though slavery was abolished, be passed down in certain areas?
I don't know. I never really thought about it. I just assumed the USA was a very free country.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
compared to a lot of places,
Have you
for sure.
seen a bald eagle?
Oh, I have.
They're fucking lit. They
From
fly.
pictures.
They're free as fuck, boy.
Yeah. All right,
But
let's hear. What is
Somehow it's only 84 out of 100.
And I wonder if that's before or after Trump, if that number reflects before or after.
Well, which term? Oh yeah, we can. No, it's up to date because it's as
Yeah.
of 2025.
So I wonder what it would be during the Obama administration.
Nah,
I would want to look at numbers pre-Trump first term.
we can actually do that.
Yeah, let's see.
But hold on, first though, we will get to that. But internet freedom in the USA, and this really surprised me because
Well, hold on.
yeah.
Freedom to access, because I'm thinking about what would make their freedoms lower. The lip thing is killing me. And freedom to access healthcare, for example, that would pull them down because it costs money, right?
Okay. Well, from what I've heard of Americans telling me about this,
Yep.
if you're poor, you just go to the hospital and get a pill, and then through some complicated process, you don't have to pay it.
That was with the Obamacare.
They don't have that no more?
No.
So what do they have now?
Nothing.
So what?
I'm pretty sure Trump got rid of it, didn't he?
I don't know. So what happens if you're poor and you go to the hospital?
You're screwed. That's why people don't go to the hospital over there.
What do you mean they're not gonna not treat you?
Yeah, they will. They won't treat you.
No, they will. No way they
Let's look it
won't
up.
treat you.
It depends on what it is that you need treated. Right?
I can hear myself in your microphone.
Oh no.
There-
It depends on what you need to have treated, right?
I guess. For sure, if you show up to a hospital in the USA with a fucking, I don't know, a gash in your chest, for sure they treat you. There's no way.
Well, I guess what about if it was just like a broken finger?
I don't think I don't know anything, but I would not accept an answer that is they will just refuse to treat you. That's not an acceptable answer. There's no way it works like
Well,
that.
let's look it up.
It's impossible. There's no way.
Okay, so Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, also known as EMTALA. This law helps prevent any hospital emergency department that receives medical funds from refusing to treat patients.
So
that is emergency medical treatment. A
If I
broken
have
finger
broken
wouldn't
finger,
count as
that
emergency
sounds like a
medical
motherfucking
treatment.
emergency.
What if it's a? I guess you need to define what an emergency treatment is.
An emergency treatment for me is anytime I need to go to the hospital with something I can't remedy at home. Like I don't have the power in me to fix a
Yeah.
broken finger,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Maybe
I, don't know.
haven't
I
been
was under the
grinding.
impression that certain things they could refuse you.
Can hospital.
And for that, the fact that they have to treat you, does that mean they can't charge you because it's now their decision to treat you, not yours?
Beg your pardon?
When they have to follow this law and treat you, do they not charge you because it is now their decision to treat you and not your decision to get treatment? Like if you passed out on the street and they just brought you to the hospital and saved your life, or maybe even just not saved your life but helped you out in some way, you didn't opt to go to the hospital. You didn't ask for that service, but they've helped you. So are they going to charge you for it?
I don't know. But what if you just okay.
Okay, so these guys are saying they can refuse you treatment.
But okay, of course. But like here, it says they can refuse you treatment if they're at capacity or if you're like belligerent, which makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
Like,
sense.
You can't go into a hospital like throwing shit around and then get treatment.
I wonder if it's state dependent as well.
Probably. Probably. I'm gonna say probably. While EMTALA ensures hospital, who made this name? While EMTALA ensures hospitals provide emergency care regardless of your ability to pay, you are still legally responsible for the costs of that care. Okay. But like, do they give you a lower rate? Because somebody told me, now this might be wrong, because
Mhm.
I'm an idiot, but somebody told me that they were in the USA, and in the USA, like they charge on paper a lot of money for certain medical expenses because insurance will cover it. But like if I don't have insurance,
So they upcharge because of the
yeah,
insurance.
they upcharge because of insurance, which like I think that makes sense. Like that it's a business practice.
Like economically, it
that's
makes
what
sense.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
As a business, that makes sense. So, but if I don't have insurance, are they gonna charge me like an ethical rate, or are they gonna
I'm
upcharge
pretty
me?
sure that now, I don't know if this is a fact or not, but I'm pretty sure they'll charge two people different rates at the same hospital.
Oh, they do price discrimination?
Yeah, they
what
do.
a fucking
yeah.
business. Let's go.
I'm pretty sure they like optimize for every single patient.
Fucking A, dude. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's like air travel. Travago does that.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
that's crazy.
Basically, your healthcare is Trivago.
Holy fuck, that's wild.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure the same hospital will charge two people
Okay,
drastically
I'm
different
gonna take
amounts.
this with a grain of salt because
Yeah.
I have no idea how anything works in the U.S. So
Yeah, same.
everything 90% of what I'm saying is probably wrong. Like, but I am curious about like if they would charge you the same, if they would charge you lower because they know you don't have insurance.
I have no idea. I imagine if what I said is actually the truth, I imagine they would because they know you wouldn't be able to pay it otherwise, right? And you would just default on anything, right?
But if it's well, not necessarily.
Would that stop if they upcharged like that? Would it make it so that more insurance companies could deny claims?
Beg your pardon, Ryan?
Would them upcharging cause insurance company to deny claims?
I mean, it would definitely put pressure on insurance companies to deny more claims.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, because isn't insurance, it's not that they'll cover your bill, it's they'll cover like a certain amount of money for your medical bills. I don't know, I don't deal with insurance companies, I don't know that sort of stuff. But wouldn't it make it so that insurance companies would start trying to give people less coverage in order to stop the companies from upcharging so that they can make a higher profit?
Yeah, of course.
So isn't it sort of like a
profit
negative?
equals revenue minus
Yeah.
expenses?
So isn't that like a negative cycle where the hospital is putting pressure on the insurance companies putting pressure not to cover the person they're covering, and then the person like doing stupid shit.
Yeah,
getting
maybe
injured?
maybe if you're sensitive, Ryan, but from the
No.
bottom line perspective, this is big business, and we're here to make money.
We're here to make money,
We're-
man.
Okay, so yeah, we're here to get the bag, man. But yeah, that would be, it's a problem. But hold on, I just read this. Usually, if you don't have or use health insurance to pay your care, providers must give a good faith estimate of how much it will cost.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that addresses our question.
Can you say it again?
The question was, if you don't have insurance in the USA
Yep.
and you go to the hospital, are they going to charge you the same amount they charge someone with insurance, because they do charge people with insurance more
Yeah.
in order to get insurance money?
Yeah.
Or are they going to charge you less? And the answer that I got from this government site, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, as of November 5th, 2024. So maybe this has changed. Usually, if you don't have or use health insurance to pay your care, providers must give you a good faith estimate of how much it will cost.
Okay.
You know what? That doesn't actually answer our question,
Yeah.
because that might mean if you go in without insurance, they just say, yeah, it'll
Well,
cost about
this
this much.
here, this is the Globe and Mail. This is exception to the rule for whether they have to cover you or not. Here's an exception. When it's a non-emergency case and the patient does not have health insurance, the hospital can refuse you care.
What's an emergency though?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. We got to kind
A
of define
broken finger
emergency.
is definitely an emergency.
I don't know, because I think you can set that yourself.
What the fuck? How?
Because that's like a
Me?
first aid
I
thing.
can set my own broken finger? No.
Because it's like a first aid thing.
I don't know
Right.
that. I don't fucking. Well, I gotta go to like WikiHow and learn how to set
I mean,
my.
your finger's going to be screwed up, but I think you can set it yourself.
Are you blowing smoke up my ass? You're being serious?
I've seen YouTube videos of guys setting their own knuckles and stuff.
There's no way. Is a broken finger an emergency?
Do they consider emergencies like life and death situations?
Oh fuck. Okay. Well, I mean, this is. I don't know. I guess while a broken finger isn't always a medical emergency, so it might not be.
Like because I was just thinking about it from the broken bone perspective, and like collarbones and ribs, there's nothing you can do for that. You just let them heal.
Okay.
Unless you need an x-ray for ribs just to make sure they haven't punctured anything. But like a doctor, it's not like they're going to put a chest cast, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now fingers, I guess it's a little different. You can put a cast or whatever it is, whatever those things are called for a broken finger, but I don't know how much that would even cost. You know what I mean?
I'm just shocked at what I'm hearing. I just can't believe. This is fucked up, dude. In the U.S. hospital, An emergency is defined as a medical condition that poses an immediate threat to life, health, or limb. So a broken finger
Life,
is
health, or a limb.
yeah, but like if you don't set a broken bone right,
Yeah.
that could like you know. I'm
Okay,
not
but
a
if it's your
doctor.
pinky, what's it gonna do?
It could that's a is a pink. You might lose it, like you know.
You might lose it.
If
You
you
broke
don't
it. You didn't like get a
I think
gangrenous wound.
if you have like a okay,
Yeah.
here's what I understand, right?
Let's hear it.
If you have a clean break in
Yeah.
your what's this arm?
Forearm.
If you have a clean break in your forearm,
Yeah.
before they had back in like the 18th century, if you had a clean break in your forearm, they'd cut that shit off.
But okay, hold
So
on.
hold on, wait, let me just say something.
I don't think
So
that's accurate.
yes, I think it is, dude. I watched Anne of Green Gables and I learned that shit in grade 5.
Okay, well, is that if because there's different types of breaks.
It's a clean break. They used to cut that shit off because somehow it can lead to like infection.
If the bone punctures the skin, definitely. But if it doesn't puncture the skin, it's an enclosed thing. Like there's no new bacteria that's being.
You know what? You're probably right.
I think I think they just have to set it. I don't think they would have to cut your arm off.
Well, I watched Anne of Green Gables, and that's what they
Listen.
told me, bro.
I
Are
don't
you-
even
are
know what
you-
Anne
are-
of Green Gables is.
It's like some Canadian fucking TV show they made us
I've
watch.
heard
in
about
grade
it, but I
5.
just don't know like what it's about or anything.
Okay, that was wrong.
Is that the
Anne of
prairie
Green
one?
Gables, yeah. It lied to me. I went my ever since
Well,
grade 5.
I think they're right. If it is puncturing the skin, they'd have to cut it off. Back in the day, because
Yeah.
there's no way they wouldn't be able to keep it clean. They wouldn't be able to keep the wound clean. So they would try to put it all back together. But if it started rotting, they'd cut it off.
Oh, well, you know, I hope. At that point, it's probably...
Yeah. Well, you know that what's it called? That rock climber who got his arm stuck in the rock and he was trapped.
72 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Mr. 72
So
hours.
that guy, I saw a little thing with him recently where he said that when he cut the arm off with the penknife, he couldn't actually feel it
Yeah.
because it was already rotting off of his
Yeah,
body.
That's nice.
Yeah, gross. But like a case like that, I mean, you just cut everything off, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. You think?
It's a possibility.
It's
Yeah,
something to
just dip it in some salt water or something.
to
It'll be
consider.
okay.
So
Some
that's,
polysporin.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
When I cut my hand sharpening a knife one time,
I'm sorry to
and it
hear
was
that.
like a flap. It's okay, don't worry about it. It was like a flap of skin,
Yeah.
and it was dying on my hand, and I guess like it started turning gray
Okay.
and all tingly as it was connecting again, and then it kind of died on my hand and fell off and then regrew. But I guess your arm can't die off and regrow. But my point
yo,
is
bro,
more
no,
like
wait,
you
hold
can
on.
recover from stuff like that. I think it's
Theo,
just
maybe
my
you're
little hand
actually
cut
that
wasn't
guy.
really.
Maybe you're
No,
actually
yeah.
that guy. Maybe for you, you can do these things.
Yeah, I'm Wolverine.
You
I
might
got
be
a
that guy,
regenerative
right?
factor.
You should. Hey man, you should consider it.
They should get me into a lab, do some research.
Yeah, we can figure this out, man. You have 2 arms. Worst
Okay,
case scenario.
okay, back on track.
Sorry.
We're going. No.
We went on so many. Are we
We're
going back
on
to
big
Freedom
tangents.
House?
Oh, I don't know. What were we talking about originally?
Okay, well, these are the.
Before we got talking about Wolverine.
Okay. So global freedom, USA, 84 out of 100. Internet freedom, 76 out of 100. That's the United States of America. Okay, Canada, global freedom, 97 out of 100, which is not acceptable because 97 out of 100 isn't 100 out of 100.
You were 3 off.
We were
Come on,
3
Canada.
off. Unbelievable.
Get your stuff together.
Then internet freedom is 86 out of 100, which is a lot less than.
What did you say it was in the States?
76.
76 in the
So
States.
I wonder what Joe Rogan, because honestly, Joe Rogan probably knows more about internet freedom than
I
me.
doubt it.
But he's
Why would he know more about
Because
it?
he's like, isn't he like the largest podcaster in the world? So like
But all he does is like think about what his schedule must be like.
You know what? That's a fair point. It's
Right?
probably pretty.
Because he's doing the comedy thing, he's doing the podcast, he's doing the UFC commentating, right? And he does like an hour workout every single day, 2-hour workout every single day, and he's got 2 kids. So his schedule
You don't
is
gotta
probably
spend time with those.
Yeah. But and he's got a dog he's got to walk. So his schedule is probably way too packed in order for him to be scrolling through. Like he would have to cut out some of that stuff in order to stay up to date on all this sort of internet stuff, Whereas you and I, we're not doing anything.
Why? Okay.
We can
okay.
look stuff up.
Maybe we should actually read his comments, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm actually
If you'd like, sure.
Maybe they. Well, we could talk about something else.
No, if you like, sure.
Okay. This is National Post. Joe Rogan doesn't go to Canada anymore. Would prefer Russia. Okay, base. I've always wanted to go to Russia, actually.
Yeah, I know. I remember you were telling.
I mean, not right now, but
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to
Yeah.
Moscow. They have the. Did we talk about they have the pickled corpse of Vladimir?
Yeah,
Lenin
you were
in
telling
the-
me about that.
in-
I think we talked about that on the last podcast.
Dude, it's
It'd be kind of crazy to see, man.
it would be.
Yeah.
What did he say? Okay, this is Joe. I don't go to Canada anymore. I don't, he says, shaking his head. Nor should you. Ooh. Okay, but what else did he say?
That's what Brian Shaw said.
When they become the U.S.,
Brian Shaw, or sorry, what's that guy's name? I just said Brian Shaw. I'm thinking maybe
Brian
I said the
Schaub.
wrong-
I don't know if
Shaw. Yeah, okay. I think Brian Shaw is a strongman competitor. Don't want to
Then-
mix him up with this guy.
Then this guy, Gordon Ryan, don't know who he is.
He's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Okay. And what else?
He's just like the top jiu-jitsu guy in the world.
Like he's a trainer?
No, he competes as a competitor.
So he's a fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. And he says when they become the U.S., so when Canada becomes the whole U.S., pretty based, you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. These are intellectuals, man.
Yep, they're intellectuals.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
else did he say?
I couldn't even say intellectuals.
Well, hey, you're in good company, man. Okay. I had a conversation with Trump about it, Rogan says. He goes, I started calling him Governor Trudeau just for fun, but a lot of people are saying, good idea. Maybe it is a good idea. So that's Trump talking. That's Joe Rogan telling us that Trump said
he
that.
had Trump on his podcast a while ago.
Okay. Yeah, when he was,
Like,
before he was elected.
No, like like a month before or something, or a
Yeah.
couple weeks before.
What else did Joe Rogan say? Rogan says, it's stupid that we hate France. I don't get it. And it's stupid we hate Canada, too. I don't get that either. All right. Sick. Sick. Cool. Canada needs to get their shit together, Schaub says from his... The man... The guy's like CTE.
Oh, yeah, he was a UFC fighter.
We need to get our shit together. 97 out of 100 is fucking not acceptable, dude. All right. Well, that's what he said. I don't know what else he said, but I'm sure he has his, I'm sure he has
It
a point.
just annoys me because his following is so large, right? And it's just so careless, the things he says. But, what are you going to do?
Just make peace, man. Don't fuck it. Who cares?
All right, next topic.
I don't
Let's
have
see.
any. I didn't come prepared for this because we're
Listen,
in this.
man, I got Yahoo Finance
we're-
open right now.
All right.
I'll take a look here. Worst is over for Canadian dollar, says Des Jardins.
Why?
I
That
don't
can't
know.
be true, bro. That can't be true. That there's no way the worst is over for the Canadian dollar because the tariffs haven't even started. So
Yeah.
obviously, as everybody knows, Canada and the U.S. have a fiat currencies.
Yep.
So the price is set in part by supply and demand, and also the central bank may step in. I don't know if they've done it historically, but they potentially can. So, right now tariffs haven't stepped in. Tariffs will step in, and trade will slow. So, the America is at a net deficit with us. But if you exclude oil, if you exclude bitumen, they're at a surplus. So we buy a lot of goods from them if you exclude bitumen. So if that stops, if we stop selling shit there because of 25% tariffs, which price goes up, quantity goes down, very simple. The dollar has to fall more. So I don't think that can be true.
I really don't know. I mean,
Maybe
you probably know
Desjardins
more.
just want to keep people calm.
It's possible. They say the recent thrashing may be over.
Ah, okay.
It-
The recent
yes,
thrashing.
I think this is maybe not a long-term forecast, but they said that it's a 6% change. Like we've dropped 6% in comparison to them, I think is what they were saying here. So that's not great.
I mean,
It's currently down about 6% since late September. That's what it says here.
it's bad because, not because we should really care about like it doesn't make sense to care about where your currency is. I don't think it makes sense to care about.
Oh, okay, hold on. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. They saying that U.S. dollar's diminishing role as a safe haven currency and hedge against volatile markets. So they're pointing at a rising risk of U.S. recession. So I guess even though our dollar maybe has gone down in comparison to theirs, the value of their dollar is going down as well.
So we
Right.
should really see where our dollar is doing it compared to like an index of global currencies.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I don't know any indexes that do like a global currency sort of.
Well, I will keep talking and trying to find it, but if our dollar goes down and we want to trade to other people, so for individuals.
Yeah.
So for individuals, if our dollar goes down, it's bad because that means a lot of CPI, like shit you buy,
Yep.
is imported.
Yeah.
So if our dollar goes down relative to a basket of global currencies,
Mm-hmm.
then all your imports will be more expensive.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
actually the inflation you experience as a consumer goes up. Not because of like changes in the money supply, just because the simple fact that your dollar is worth less
Yeah.
because people don't want to buy it as much
Yeah.
because we're not doing trade.
No, that makes sense.
Okay, now you say something so I can Google this.
I gotta find something to match that because that sounded very smart. And let's see, QuickTime. Oh, a guy just popped up on my computer. He's talking. That was my
What else?
contribution.
I'll keep talking.
Oh, here it says, while we forecast a recession in Canada as well, the Bank of Canada front-loaded its cutting cycle and is likely to proceed more cautiously from here.
Can you, say that again?
While we forecast a
Who's we?
recession,
Who's we? Who's this?
this I
Desjardins?
think it's Desjardins. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me read from a paragraph back here. So the prospect looks less likely in Canada given its. Oh, I need to go a bunch of.
Okay, man.
You know
Reading's
what?
hard.
I'll go from the one I originally was talking.
A
from.
makes the ass sound.
While we forecast a recession in Canada as well, the Bank of Canada front-loaded its cutting cycle and is likely to proceed more cautiously from here. So I guess what they mean by front-loaded its cutting cycle is they're talking about interest rates.
Oh.
So they already did the interest rate cuts
And they did those.
with the expectation that they would be having problems. Right?
Yeah, but you know the Bank of Canada is it's a tricky. It's actually there's no way to win. There's no way to win. Because the Bank of Canada's so in the U.S. I think we may have talked about this before. The Fed in the U.S. has a different mandate than the central bank in Canada. Central banks around the world can have slightly different mandates. Did we talk about this before?
I can't remember.
Well,
Remind me though, because
the Fed, the U.S. central bank, they have a dual mandate to control inflation and to stabilize employment.
okay.
In Canada,
How do they do the stabilized employment?
Well, because interest rates and employment are inversely correlated.
Okay.
So in Canada, the Bank of Canada doesn't have that mandate to do anything with unemployment. Although if there's a recession, they will, tweak the rates, but it's not a mandate for them. Their mandate is to keep inflation at a target rate of 2%. So the Bank of Canada,
But they don't do anything with employment?
well, it's not a mandate. Like obviously, like we saw during COVID, remember?
Yeah.
They did cut rates, and it led inflation to skyrocket. And then they, in order to do it combat on a recession, but it's just not a mandate for them.
So I have a question about that.
Okay.
You said that employment and interest rates are inversely correlated. That doesn't
Unemployment, I mean.
unemployment. So as interest rates go down, unemployment goes.
Is interest rates go down, unemployment. So I guess unemployment and interest rates are positively correlated.
They go in the same direction.
Yes.
Okay.
Because as interest rates go down, employment
'Cause
goes up and unemployment goes down.
I'm assuming the idea is that with lower interest rates, businesses can expand, and that expansion causes them to hire more people.
Yeah.
Now, a question I have about that is that with the increase of automation, couldn't you say that as interest rates go down, the companies can take more debt on in order to increase the technological advantages of their business so that they don't need to rely on employment anymore?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they do.
Like they can bring more automation into their businesses.
Technology is not a new thing. There are probably a lot of firms that.
Yeah, no, it's not a new thing.
Yeah, like it's not a new thing. Like
Yeah.
what if interest rates are low, you can
So at what
extend
point-
in new capital.
So at what point does it no longer become an inverse correlation?
Oh, I mean, that's a good question.
Because typically you need to spend money in order to make your business autonomous with technology, right? Like usually it's a
Yes.
fairly expensive startup cost.
Yeah.
What are you doing, bro?
Yeah, true.
Okay, so then at what point does the automation become so widespread that it's no longer inversely correlated?
I don't know.
All right.
Like where'd that go? I have no idea. I think that. Oh fuck. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sure I'm missing something here. I'm sure there's more to it than just that, but because I guess you could say that as interest rates go down, individuals who want to start up their own business, entrepreneurial sort of stuff, would
Your
go
question is wrong.
up. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, also because of that, but your question is wrong because, no way, is your question wrong? I suppose your question isn't wrong. So, yeah, because if interest rates go down and you can buy so much more capital, there will be an incentive for big players to say, all right, now we're going to buy all this capital, and not only are we not going to hire workers, but now we have so much AI and automated capital that we're going to actually do layoffs. So I suppose at some point in the future they may be negatively correlated,
Yeah.
but you always need. So they will be negatively correlated when it makes more sense to start laying people off than the people they need to control automated systems.
I don't know, man. The problem with my thing is that it makes an assumption, I guess, that we'll reach a point where, I mean, like what you're saying, it's just,
Say something more, Ryan.
Yeah, okay, for sure. It makes what I was trying to say, and I didn't know how to say,
Yeah.
was it makes an assumption that eventually the technology will be so widespread and will just be better than people. It makes an assumption that new jobs won't be created as the technology spreads. Because typically what you've seen over history, from my understanding, is that as new technology is introduced, new jobs that didn't exist previously are created in order to support those industries.
Yeah, but
now with
that's
AI and stuff, you're making an assumption that that's going to happen, which is sort of what I was saying. Part of my question requires you to assume certain things as well, right? I guess it's forecasting the future. You just can't really do it that accurately. It's kind of difficult. But yeah.
Well, I think that the U.S. dollar will certainly go down. No, sorry, I don't know what happened to the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
Will the U.S. dollar go down?
I think it will, because as they reduce their presence on the global stage, there will be less incentive for
people to buy American.
Yeah, for sure, right?
All right.
And there will be more incentive for them to go off like the euro or something. You know what I mean? Or just gold or crypto.
True. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely not crypto.
Maybe, I don't know. Fair point. So, yeah, the Canadian dollar will go down. For you as a consumer, it's bad because there's inflationary pressure with imports.
Yeah.
For domestic producers, it's good because your products become cheaper internationally. And for foreigners, it's good too. So hypothetically, if the Canadian dollar went down so much, the effects of tariffs wouldn't even matter. Because if the Canadian dollar dropped like 25% or more, and suppliers, for some reason, a big assumption is not accurate, but we'll just say suppliers assumed 100% of those costs, then the 25% tariff is just bringing everything back to where it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding that the Canadian government has always tried to keep the dollar below the U.S. dollar as a way to...
Do we do that?
I don't know if we do... From what I was told is that typically we try to keep our dollar below the US one as an incentive to bring business here because we can't compete with them really otherwise. I
No,
don't know
that
if that's
doesn't.
true
That
or
can't
not.
be true because
Because
how
it's
do you
cheap
do
for
that?
foreign businesses to start business here
Yeah.
if they're working off the US dollar.
Okay. No. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But under what how
I don't
would
know.
how would the government
I have no
control
idea. It
the-
could just be like a bank thing where the prime minister goes, "Hey."
Well, no, that's
I
not
don't know.
how-
I don't know how it works, man. That's just what I had been told as a kid.
okay. I don't think
Just
that's
people who are not educated
I
in
don't think that
finances
can be
told
true.
me
I
this.
mean, unless there's something I fundamentally don't understand, I don't think it could work that way.
Well, let's look it up.
What do you even look up?
Look up.
Did my uncle
does
lie to me when
Canada,
I was 5?
Does Canada intentionally keep the dollar? Intentionally keep the Canadian dollar below the U.S. one?
I'm gonna say no.
It's a free floating currency. Its value is determined by markets. This is a Reddit post.
Well, I trust.
Why is the U.S. dollar always lower than? Why is the Canadian dollar always lower than the U.S. dollar? This is Bank of Canada. The widening differential between interest rates in Canada and the United States is one reason for the recent depreciation of the Canadian dollar. I have a feeling this question is going to take more than just a 5-minute lookup to solve.
What are they saying about interest rates?
I could only read the first part. I had to open the
Ah.
website, and I hate how when you look up something, it'll bring like a short passage from the article, and then you have to press on the article, but it never brings you to that section of the part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
annoying.
What if you Control F?
And look up what?
Whatever it said that made you click the article.
I can't remember what it said.
Control F, widening gap.
Oh, it's right. Oh, here it is. Against the US dollar since tending. There's 5 matches. I can't find it.
It's fine. It's okay, man.
Where is it now? Oh, there it is.
Do you want to take a guess on who Polymarket thinks will win the next election?
Do I want to bet on that?
Well, like colloquially, just like between me and you right here, who do you think Polymarket puts the higher odds on right now?
I think it's Carney, isn't it?
Yeah, somehow. Right
Yeah.
now, Carney's at 56.8% likelihood to be the Liberal Party. Is on Polymarket is 56.8%.
Let's see
Chance.
what the CBC polls are.
But that's kind of
The
like
CBC polls have him at 40.2%, and the Conservatives at 37.3%.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's pulling ahead, man, which is kind of crazy.
And it's not kind of crazy. It's absolutely
Yeah.
insane. It's
He's right now.
not for any like political reason. Not like I like. Just
Right-
it's crazy
right now-
from where they were.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I know exactly what you're saying. Right now, there's a 69% probability of the Liberals winning a majority.
What percent?
69%, yeah.
Wow.
But that's of a majority, of them winning a majority. That's not even like,
That can't be real.
that's CBC, man.
That
CBC
can't be real,
poll
dude.
tracker. Why would that not be real?
Cause you don't there's no. It just seems it kind of breaks my whole understanding of the world if you told me that the Liberals are 70% likely to win a
69,
majority,
69.
69% chance going to win a majority government. If you told me that 8 months ago, I'd be like, what the fuck?
There's only a 19% probability of the Liberals winning the most seats, but not a majority. It's kind of crazy, right?
Okay. What are the other odds? What are the odds what are the odds of the NDP gets a majority government?
Of the NDP?
What about the Greens?
They're at 9.7%
9.7% to do what?
in the polls. That's their number in the polls. 9.7%. I guess what do the polls even represent? Does that represent the chance of them winning? Or is it representing?
I know. I think it represents. They call you and they go, "Who are you going to vote for?" It represents who people are going to vote for.
Okay. That makes sense. I've never had anybody call me ask that.
I think they called me one time, and I was like,
Really?
who is this? Why are you calling? And they were giving me attitude. So,
Bloc Québécois is higher than the NDP.
well,
But that doesn't make sense because on the polls, they are lower. I think I'm missing something about this. Oh, that's a seat projection. So the NDP is projected to win 4 seats. Bloc Québécois is projected to win 23. But that's not the same as the polls, because I guess in the polls they're doing a countrywide.
But what about the Greens?
Oh, the Greens, their polls at 3.2%.
I heard, like, they started campaigning, and I heard Jagmeet talk about how he wants to take, and, like, again, take this with a grain of salt.
Jagmeet Singh is NDP, he's not Green.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the NDP.
Yep.
And they were talking that they wanted to take federal land
Mm-hmm.
and use it to just build a bunch of homes on federal land, which I don't think is a good solution because it's federal land, so you could never own, I don't think you could have ownership of that. So it's just going to turn the federal land into like just a giant project housing unit.
Would it reduce rental costs because
Yeah.
the federal buildings would have stronger rent control, and so it would incentivize people to go there, causing individual landlords to lower their rental. You know what I'm talking about?
I think that the impact is going to be very minimal unless you, like how much quantity of this of housing are they going to put on the market by 2035?
And how many houses do they need? How many would they have to build?
Probably a lot.
Our homelessness population is pretty low, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, let's look it up.
I don't think it's that low. Hey, man, I think they're growing. I don't think you should hate on them. I think they're on the come up.
Homelessness, Ontario, tipping point with 80,000
Don't do Ontario though,
Should I do
because
Toronto?
yeah, because different provinces ship their homeless people to BC apparently.
Really?
Yeah, because it's cold in the wintertime, but BC it's temperate winter.
Over 10,000 people. This is AI overview, though. I don't trust that.
In 2022, an estimated 105,000 people experienced homelessness in an emergency shelter, and 40,000 individuals were experiencing homelessness in shelters, unsheltered locations, or transit housing.
How many is that?
105,000
In Toronto?
in Canada,
In Canada.
which can't be true.
Why can't that be true?
I mean, it just seems low.
Well, we don't have a home. It was just a lot of propaganda around it, but we don't really have that large of a homelessness population in comparison to a lot of other places.
But then why do I see people living in tents?
Because they're out in the open.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. They could be.
I think it's easy to see. Like, if you see a person living in a tent, how many people are living inside in comparison to the people you see in a tent? Right? You can't see into people's bedrooms unless their bedroom is out on the street.
Okay. Fair, Ryan. This is just a statistic I think is more accurate.
Let's hear it.
Between 150,000 to 300,000 people in all of Canada.
Yeah, I could believe it.
I
I mean,
could
it's
believe
still
that.
more than it should be, I think. But what is that as a percentage?
But hold on, wait. Can I talk about Stats Can?
Sure.
Over 1 in 10 Canadians, or 1.6 million people, reported that they had homelessness. Is often a thought of, what the fuck? What are they trying to say here?
So people think about homelessness as
Yeah,
a stat?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know. What are they trying to say here?
I don't know. I find a lot of people think that where they are is worse than how it is in Canada. Or at least in Toronto, the people I associate with.
Hold on, wait, but this is Statistics Canada, and it said
Yeah.
in 2021, we asked Canadian households if they had ever experienced some form of homelessness in their lifetime. Over 1 in 10 Canadians, so that's 11.2%,
Mm-hmm.
or 1.69 million people reported that they had. So that's a lot of
Do they
people.
count-
But
Yep.
hold on, if we say on the high end there's 300,000 currently homeless people, this is actually a pretty good statistic in the sense that 1.6 million people had experienced homelessness and they're not homeless.
Yeah. So
Because
it's actually reduced.
I mean, it
over
sounds
time,
like
Well, here's what I think maybe is skewing that statistic.
yeah.
I knew a lot of kids growing up who either ran away from home or were kicked out of their homes for short periods of time and were essentially living the way a homeless person would live for like a week or two, right? Would that count as homelessness in their minds?
Well,
Probably. So that would
'cause
probably
it's a poll, yeah.
so that would probably skew the number, right?
Interesting.
Because I knew like people who just like maybe their home life wasn't so great, and so they just started doing couch surfing. Would you count couch surfing as homelessness?
They addressed it.
Yep.
They addressed couch surfing. They
Let's hear
say there are, however, many more Canadians, 10.5%, who have experienced hidden homelessness, like couch surfing.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, couch surfing is hidden homelessness, according to Statistics
So
Canada.
does that count into the statistic they? I guess it's a separate statistic.
I think it's
Because when a person considers, like, you'd have to see how they phrased the first question. Because if it's just they had experienced homelessness but didn't specify couch surfing
bro.
wasn't homelessness.
Okay, here. Okay. So no, the homelessness we think about, the
Yep.
people living like actually on the
Yeah,
street.
yeah.
Okay. Homelessness is often thought of as living in a shelter or completely unhoused in an encampment or public space. This kind of homelessness in Canada is referred to as absolute homelessness.
You're absolutely
You're
homeless.
absolutely homeless. We shouldn't
But
be
like
laughing.
living in your car, I
Wait,
guess
let
would
That's not absolutely homeless. You have a car.
but it would still count as homelessness.
Yes.
Okay.
So, so this experience, this absolute homelessness, is shared by 2.2% of households at some point in their life. So
So 2.2
So it's
out of 100.
yeah.
How many is that?
No,
out
no,
of-
no. 2.2 out of
We're at-
in the entire population, apparently.
No, but like, so that would be 2 out of every 100 people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how many is that out of, what is our population right now? We're approaching
Probably
40
40
million.
mil.
We are at 40.1 million. So let's take a
Well,
calculator.
it's about 880,000,
880,000?
approximately. I did 40 million, not 42 or 41 or whatever you said.
40.1, but 40 million is fine. I mean, so how much did you say? Sorry, I got distracted.
It's about 880,000 people have experienced absolute homelessness.
And I wonder how that number would be skewed when you, like, if you like were to plot it all out on a map of Canada, how much of that is associated specifically with Indigenous communities?
Well, they said stuff about Indigenous communities.
Because a lot of them are not great communities. Like, it's kind of hard to live out there.
Inequities and pathways of homelessness. This lack of stable housing can result. Okay. For example, Indigenous households, 29.5%, were almost I don't know what that 29.5% refers to, but anyways, we're almost.
I think it's referring to the original percentage that they gave of homelessness. Of what was the number given originally?
So
It's like 2% or something.
No. That 2.2 is absolute homelessness, and the 11.2% is all different types of homelessness. So I think what they're saying here, out of all the different types of homelessness, Indigenous households accounted for 29.5%.
Oh wow.
So we're almost 3 times as likely to have experienced some form of homelessness when compared with the total population. While racialized, 9.5%, and immigrants, 8.3%, households were below the national average. Similarly, recent point-in-time counts of homeless shelters nationwide have found that 35% of respondents identified as Indigenous.
I guess the immigration one makes sense when you consider that the people who manage to get citizenship tend to come from like a background with education and
Yeah,
and
but
a
I
little
don't know,
money.
bro. There are literally homeless immigrants living in the
Of course.
high school where in the wooded area. Like I see them, so I mean, it can't. I don't know. Like maybe they're not.
Well, your personal experience,
Accurate.
I don't think.
Well, true. I guess it is an anecdote. All right, fair. That's anecdotal evidence, but maybe these numbers aren't accurate.
I think it's probably more accurate.
Okay. Well,
Sorry, bro, but
take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. Anyways,
also, those people you see, are they immigrants or are their parents immigrants?
it just says immigrant household. So
No,
I
the people
believe,
you saw.
oh, they have accents. They're definitely immigrants.
Okay.
But that's not who they're talking. In the study, they're talking about immigrant households. So it's not necessarily immigrants.
Yeah.
Because if your parents are immigrants and you're born in Canada, you're not an immigrant. But I think
Immigrant household.
Yeah.
What about if your one parent is a immigrant and one parent isn't?
I don't know.
Is that an immigrant household?
I don't know. That's
Is
me.
it only immigrant family? Like, so you were already a family in your country and immigrated that they're talking about, and that's an immigrant household?
Oh, I don't know.
You know what I mean? So I think it needs to be, because that's me as well. My mom's an immigrant, but my dad's not. So does that count as an immigrant household? I wouldn't think so, because it's like every one of my dad's relatives and my relatives on my dad's side are from Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know what's crazy?
What's that?
Family violence in Canada rose for the 5th consecutive year in 2021.
Oh yeah, huh? What are they counting as violence?
Good question. Police report. So I guess anytime you make a police report,
Okay, and is that as a result of increasing violence or increasing education around what constitutes violence and what constitutes a reason to call the police?
okay, I don't know, man.
I'm only wondering
I
that
don't know.
because I
That's
had
a
a
good
I had a
question.
course,
Yeah.
my HR course, where they were talking about when companies introduce an HR department, they see a rise in complaint and problems, but it's not it's not because HR departments cause people to act violently and badly towards each other. It's because actions that were previously being taken but not understood fully and not reported are now getting reported. So you see a spike, right? I don't know, like, is our education around, I would argue that our education within the last 10 years around what constitutes household violence and bad behavior within families, our education around that sort of stuff has increased within the last 10 years. And so it's kind of makes sense you would see a spike before seeing a fall off if it follows this sort of HR pattern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's all just conjecture. I don't know if any of that's true in relation to the actual family violence thing.
I'm trying to read their data to understand, but I don't. It's a long thing, and I don't know. If you're interested, you can go to Statistics Canada, victims of police-reported family and inhabitant partner violence in Canada, 2021, and you can read this detailed report.
Perfect.
Yeah. It is a good point. It is possibly, people are more educated, so they're more willing to reach out for help. Is a good point, Ryan. Very smart.
Thanks, man.
You're so smart, Ryan.
Oh, thanks, man. You are too, bro. You are too, man.
Yeah, I just stopped eating the crayons. They're actually for coloring.
Oh, wow, really? I didn't know that. That's a good tip.
Yeah, well, if you're hungry.
Oh, I was thinking while we're in
Uh-huh.
this studio,
Yeah.
we should take a picture so that our thumbnail for our videos isn't just the table from.
True.
Because I'm just looking here. The Mostly Nonsense podcast is probably going to end soon because it's 4:00.
Oh, yeah.
Our hour studio session is ending.
Well, we talked about the economy, mostly Joe Rogan. We talked about the NDP federal housing on...
the dollar.
Yeah, the dollar. The
Yeah.
loonie.
We talked about these microphones and how sensitive they are.
Yeah.
I've noticed that I whistle a lot when I'm talking.
Say something. I didn't really notice it, but...
I could hear it sometimes.
Oh, stop whistling.
It's weird.
What do you think? You're a construction worker?
Yeah,
Do
turn
whistling.
it.
All right, well.
All right, man. Well,
All right, well.
good job.
Arrivederci.
That lady said that we should we pause this recording? How do we do that without deleting everything?
Well, let's say goodbye and then we'll edit this.
All right.
All right, arrivederci.
Goodbye, everybody. All right, now it's gonna continue recording.
Yeah, now it's continuing.
Don't say anything
recording.
crazy. All right.
I think that hopefully we are recording. Imagine we did this whole thing, we're not recording.
Well, that would be fun, anyways.
You can
Oh.
come over here and take a look.
Oh. All right, give me a second. I like the microphones. Somebody's knocking on the door.
Is they?
I think so.
Hey, sorry, just letting you know we are technically closed right now.
just finished our hour.
Amazing.
We don't know
I
how
will
to-
help you with
Yeah.
exporting that.
How do we stop the recording? Because it's still recording.
Oh,
We just don't want to like
yes.
stop it and delete it.
It's just.